Hello and welcome to BBDL Week 2. We took a solid win in Week 1, and this week we are fighting Chair, who is a little bit of an unconventional team, which I'll get into in a moment. Before I really get into it, I want to mention, first of all, for the game, I was very out of it. I will give you a warning right now. If you're looking to this to learn from the game, this is the type of video where you learn what not to do. I did not play this game well, and I'll get into that. Second of all, I already had to record this once, and my mic inexplicably decided not to work, so I'm on take number 2, which has become a theme for this channel. For those who have been with me behind the scenes, you'll know. But, all growing pains. So, to get into it, I'm fighting Chair, like I mentioned. He is a very unconventional team. Why? We have 3 ground types, we have 2 poison types, we have a dragon with no steel and no fairy. Why is this team so weird? Well, I like the first 3 picks of my opponent, but I think what happened is afterwards he decided to take it upon himself to be the one to save the league from the rain team that was brewing on Nucha's side of the field. Nucha took these first 3 mons, fully planning on taking Mega Swampert as well, and Chair decided to take one for the team and snipe it, after already taking Ursaluna Blood Moon. The mods laughed about it so much that they made Nucha's mascot Mega Swampert, despite him not having the mon. But because of that, my opponent had to invest heavily into these, and we kind of get all these other, kind of gluey picks, in order to try to make it work. This is all good for me, though, because if you scroll down here, I mentioned no fairy, no steel. That means no dragon resists. So the first thing I did was put Raging Bolt on my team. This set took me some time to come up with, because normally with Raging Bolt you go, okay, well, if Raging Bolt's good in a matchup, you run Calm Mind, Thunderclap, Thunderbolt, and then a Dragon move for coverage. But the thing with that means Raging Bolt has to be good defensively in a matchup. Now, I do have good support for my Raging Bolt. There's a reason I took this mon. It's because of my grassy terrain, right? It forces my opponents off of Earthquake. This means they have to either run High Horsepower or Stomping Tantrum. Here's the thing. 1, 2, 3 ground types on my opponent's side of the field, and a Kirim with ice moves. There's not really a ton of ways to get around this. So a bulky set is just not good. The gist of it is, my thought process came down to, defensively, Raging Bolt is garbage here. Offensively, really good, because there's no dragon resist. So I decided to go with the very strange Scarf Raging Bolt with quite a bit of bulk, because it's a lot of its HP could kind of just be fodder. But at the same time, Raging Bolt is slow. We know this. It's why it's a Calm Mind user. It doesn't outspeed any Scarf guys, right? Unless he's running Scarf Blood Moon, which I think you'd be insane to do that. The only realistic Scarf mons are these guys, and Crobat's not running a Scarf, so it's more like these 3 right here are like really the only realistic Scarfers. Which, if I put a ton of speed in, I'm slower than anyways. So this was Spedcraft. Really, I think it was just Victini. It might have been faster. No, it was not faster than a Golbat. It was just enough to get Victini, and then I did Monos and a lot of HP, because that meant I could take a couple hits. Even though I'm bad defensively, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's a backup V-Create switch. If I read the Swampert to clicking water moves, that's not bad. I can take hits from Iron Hands, which is really nice. Yeah, and I kind of have to, because I can't be that fast at the end of the day. So that was one of the first things that came to the conclusion to. The next thing was I put Sneasler on the team, but I had no idea what to do with it. If we scroll down here once again to kind of get the gist across, my opponent has no mons weak to poison and 4 mons that resist it. So Sneasler's Dire Claw is not looking so great here. In addition, he's got pretty good fighting resists as well. I came to the conclusion very quickly that the combination of Crobat and one of Nidoking or Iron Hands, he doesn't even need both, just one of them, kind of can just screw over my Sneasler if played properly, especially Crobat. So I very quickly settled on, okay, Crobat's coming. So I went the very off-meta Sneasler. It's still Swords Dance Unburden, but instead I have Rock Slide, Low Kick, and Dig. The reason for this Low kick was really just as good as CC here because it hits these two really well. No, not Crobat. It hits these two really well, and it hits Mega Swampert, which are the only mons I really need to hit. It hits them really well. It hits them enough, and I don't really need more damage than that. With my Swords Dance, Rock Slide and Dig cover everything else. Rock Slide beats Crobat, and Dig beats these two. Yes, I'm running Dig with no Power Herb. The reasoning being, I don't believe either of these two are going to run Earthquake, especially in a matchup where I have Grassy Terrain Rillaboom, especially if they're built to try and beat my Sneasler. I mean, obviously Nidoking is an Earth Power user, but, you know, you could always run Earthquake in a matchup if you need to. So I went, okay, he's not going to hit me underground with Earthquake. I can Dig, and if he decides to switch to something like Crobat, I just Rock Slide directly after. The Mon comes in, takes Chip, if he switches back to Nidoking, and then I rinse and repeat. It's really not that bad of an option. And there's a weird dynamic with the Crobat. See, Crobat could EV to kill me with the Brave Bird through my Grassy Seed. That's possible. However, if he does that, he cannot EV to have enough bulk to live a +2 Rock Slide from Sneasler. If he EVs to have enough bulk to live +2 from Rock Slide, Brave Bird will not kill. So, because of that, I really do not want to drop my defenses. Because that only works that way because of the +1 defense boost from Grassy Seed. That is the only reason that works. So CC is just not an option for me. So if we already have Raging Bolt is kind of like a mid-game breaker because there's no Dragon Resist, and we have Sneasler as the late-game cleaner. What else do we fit on here? Well, we need some pivot. All right, we need some pivot. Immediately put the Rillaboom on the team, right? I mean, we need it for Grassy Terrain. So what's the second to be? Well, Setup Sweeper Boom wasn't great here, so I just, you know, put Pivot on it. And then I slapped an Assault Vest on it so I could be a semi-switch into Blood Moon. Switch in, force it out, U-turn, get myself some momentum. I didn't really think of much about this set. It was more just Rillaboom has to come, Assault Vest for Blood Moon, move on with my life. And Grassy Glide is always nice. Next, I went with, well, if we're doing this, I want something to use in the mid game, and Enamorus Superpower looks really good here. Why does Enamorus Superpower look good here? The resists I can hit anyways. Like this, it's another dynamic thing that I'm kind of abusing here. He's not going to switch in Crobat to Enamorus. Why is he not going to do that? Because Scarf Enamorus is really common. Yeah, we know this. But if he takes any damage on Crobat, that earlier dynamic I mentioned, it wouldn't even matter. I would just win anyways, right? If his plan is to run bulky, if he takes any hit, he loses. If his plan is to run offensive, I might not even need a Swords Dance to kill him, in which case that's a terrible situation for him in the end game. So what are the switch-ins for Superpower? Well, I mean, Nidoking can be there, but if Nidoking, I have Zen Headbutt. Okay, well, that's not good. I mean, these two are weak to Superpower, obviously. Swampert's not really taking 2, plus I get my plus defense boost, so it can't really hit me that hard. If Iron Hands comes in, I just play Rough directly after, and it's all said and done. In addition, I slotted Outrage on here, because, again, no Dragon Resist. So, Enamorus was pretty easy conclusion. I had no idea what to run for an item. I didn't think he was ever getting rocks up with this team because his rockers are offensive mon and offensive mon. I also didn't think Nidoking was particularly great here when it was really only good defensively for Sneasler, and Iron Hands kind of did that already. So I went with Assault Vest so I could take hits on the special side. Yeah, there wasn't a ton of thought to that. It was just like, I don't know, taking hits. I could maybe make it a switch to Blood Moon, but I didn't think a lot of items were great here. Maybe I could have run something like Expert Belt because I had so many super effective coverage, or Black Belt for fighting move boost. I don't know, maybe AV wasn't the play here, but I was really lost in what item to run. So who knows. Next, this guy has a rain team at the end of the day. These two, right? Let's just put Gastrodon on the team, make it max defense, that way it can also switch into Victini. In some cases, yeah, I'm Stealth Rocks because, of course, Recover, Scald, Water Covered as well, and also Burning, very nice, into monsters like Swampert. And then Ancient Power was packed in the back in order to hit these two and Crobat. Crobat wasn't as much of a care because Scald still does a lot, but, well, no, it was really just Kyurem, because Kyurem otherwise could kind of just switch in on this and click Freeze Dry, and I really didn't want to let that happen. Now, if you'll notice, if we're ignoring the bottom mon here, you'll notice with my team so far, with these 4 and Raging Bolt, I do not have a Freeze Dry switch in. So we have Spit Out Scizor. That's it. That was all the thought I put in. And then I put on Psycho Cut because I figured Iron Hands is a really good switch for Scizor normally. And so could Nidoking. So I put on Psycho Cut. Not a ton of thought, to be honest. Went 252s on that. Really, it came down to Sneasler kind of wipes the team. Scarf Raging Bolt can do a lot of mid-breaking stuff. And this Sneasler set is where a lot of my thought went. You'll also notice a gimmick with my IVs. No speed. The reason for this is I didn't need it. With an Unburden, I outsped literally everything. There just was not much of a point. So, I didn't. Yeah, and I went max HP because that way I could also... That max HP thing is also a lot of the reason that Brave Bird dynamic works out the way it does with Crobat. So, I was kind of made to beat Crobat in a lot of ways. But yeah, that was the thoughts behind my team. Now, I already mentioned this, but I did not play well this game. So, let's jump into it. First of all, I get the lead wrong because I played it stupid. What do I mean by that? Well, I go, okay, well, Victini is a very obvious lead, just in general. Why is it a very obvious lead? It can click V-Create on the good mons, it can click U-Turn, predicting a switch, and get very early momentum, and U-Turn still does quite a bit of damage. So, you know, it's a very obvious lead. I go, okay, well then my obvious lead is just Gastrodon. Gastrodon's a good lead anyways. You lead him, he's got good resist, he's pretty defensive, you put up rocks, which is really good for the entire game to have up. You know, move on with your life, right? So I go, okay, that means he's probably going to lead Kyurem for Freeze Dry. Therefore, I'm going to lead Scizor and get ahead of the game. This makes no sense. If I'm worried about that, the thing is, Victini, if he does end up leading Victini and I lead Scizor, that is disastrous for me. Because he gets early momentum off of U-Turn and he gets a lot of damage off of V-Create. That's really bad. If he leads Kyurem, he can't get momentum off of anything. He could maybe lead Draco Eject Pack. That's it, right? But I really don't think that's the set he brings, considering how strong ice moves were into my team. So I went, okay, well, what I should have done is I should have went leading Kyurem. If he does, and like, let's compare worst case scenarios for each lead. Worst case scenario with Scizor, he leads Victini, I lose momentum off Rib, and I can lose a lot of the game there. Worst case scenario leading Gastrodon, he leads Kyurem, I go to Scizor, I click U-Turn, I get early momentum. That's much better, right? So why was I so worried? I don't know. In addition, again, I did not play well this game. I was out of it. I thought, I saw this Swampert, and I saw no Politoed, and in my head, I went, oh, that's not Mega Swampert. I really was out of it. I built the team way before the battle. So, yeah, let's get right into it. We said Victini get let off, and of course I led Scizor, like I mentioned. I decided to go Raging Bolt because I saw that the Victini was Energy Ball. I just wanted to double check, and I mentioned earlier that Raging Bolt's HP was kind of expendable due to me having a Scarf, so I was like, alright, I can take a hit once. I don't want him to get an early read off of me, and also if he clicks U-Turn, this was the other thing. If he clicks U-Turn off that turn 1, and I go to Gastrodon, he's going to Kyurem, and I'm losing momentum again. I mean, yeah, I could go back to Scizor on the Freeze Dry, but maybe he has HP Fire, you know. Or maybe he clicks Sub or something. Like, it's just not a lot I want to risk. So instead I want to go Raging Bolt. In addition, there's a little trick here, which I didn't think about this in the game, but now that I'm looking at it, if he clicks U-Turn, he's not going to know I'm Scarf. Kyurem's going to come in and I kill with Dragon Pulse. So I'll catch him with his pants down with Dragon Pulse. So, but no, the V-Create just comes out. I can't click Volt Switch into 2 ground types, so I just click Dragon Pulse. I get really good damage on the Swampert, but now I have to pivot again. Once again, forgot this was Mega Swampert. That damage, really surprised me. In addition, he crit me, which is awesome. So now I'm getting 2-hit KO'd. And I want to keep this around. The reason being, I'm going, oh, V-Crate, the V-Crate stocks just went up to 1 million looking at my team. So I go, okay, let's get Rillaboom in, nullify that Earthquake. He catches it with Avalanche. I think Ice Punch was better because I don't know what hits this Swampert is taking from Amon and wanting to click Avalanche against. I think the only one is Enamorus. Yeah, it's just Enamorus, but yeah, I guess that was what it was for then. I guess it was just for Enamorus, so yeah, I take that back. I think Avalanche is a little cool. This is a very free U-turn for me, so that's what I do. Kyurem comes in, you know where I'm going with Kyurem. I'm gonna click U-turn again because I think he's gonna switch. Instead he clicks D-Dance. And I'm like, alright, I'm sacking Gastrodon now. The reason being, Gastrodon at this health just isn't doing anything anymore for me. So I let it go. And at this point I'm starting to form a plan because I'm behind by a lot. This time I have to Bullet Punch with Scizor. I can't let him catch me with my pants down again. So that's what I decided to do. And I go, but he goes Victini and calls it, which means I have to take another V-Crate, and my Water Ground just died. So V-Crate stocks are at an all-time high. So I decide, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to either call the Overpredict with a U-turn and stay in and U-turn myself and get some momentum, or he's going to V-Create. I'm going to go Enamorus, and I'm going to click Superpower and just start running it up. At this point, I'm thinking, wow, I'm so behind. How do I win this game? And I go, okay, well, Sneasler can still win this. Why? Well, at this point, Kyurem can die to low kick at +2. This dies to low kick at +2. This is dying. I'll be able to get chip on this, whether he V-creates or Enamorus comes in. I still have that dynamic with the Crobat. I think Swampert Mega is low enough that I can kill. And then the Iron Hands, I'm just gonna... I need a little bit of chip on the Iron Hands, but if I get that, I can still win this game. Despite being behind by so much, I can still win this game. So I'm like, okay, maybe he U-turns, but he doesn't. He just clicks V-Create, so I go, alright, here we go. Throw out the Enamorus, let's start clicking. And I'm really thinking in my head, like, oh, this V-Create's not gonna hurt. I'm gonna be +1 defense. Forgetting he has Bolt Strike. Don't know why I forgot that. Really, I was very out of it for this game, once again. And that was the other thing I thought in my head. I was like, oh yeah, you know, 2 superpowers should kill. The first one, I'll get my defense, I'll get my attack, and then the second one, you know, after he V-creates the second time to hit me, you know, his defenses will be dropped. So if I go +1, he goes -2 defense, I should be able to kill. Completely, again, forgetting that he could just have Bolt Strike. Because again, I don't know what I was thinking during this game. I was very out of it. So now I have to click Outrage, because if you look at my other moves, we have Play Rough and Zen Headbutt. Both resisted. So I ran Outrage. Again, I slotted Outrage on this because no Dragon Resist. I was like, if I get enough superpower boosts, I can just mash Outrage. So that's what I did. My opponent goes Blood Moon, which takes a hit very easily, and I think is the only Mon at this point. Well, Crobat takes a hit, but then you auto-lose to Sneasler, and kind of similar with Iron Hands, to be honest. So yeah, Blood Moon's kind of the play to go here. For some reason, I really don't know why. I can only imagine God came down and forced my opponent to misclick. Despite the fact that I'm locked into Outrage, and it does not kill, and he can kill me back with Blood Moon, my opponent decides to switch and sack Swampert. No, I don't know why, but we take those, because now I get to click Superpower again, and nothing can stop this Mon. Now, here's the thing. I have a decent amount of speed, but I don't have a lot. This Crobat is going to outspeed me still, but my opponent, I don't think reads into that and just goes to Iron Hands. And listen, I'm +2. I see the super effective stab button, I'm clicking it. So that's what I get. I get the Iron Hands too, which is amazing for me because now it means Sneasler can very easily win. I just need damage on this Crobat. At this point, I'm up so high with this Enamorus that I'm like, okay, I can just kind of let this die and then go to Raging Bolt, Dragon Pulse to get chip, and then kind of let Sneasler do its thing. And I might win, I might not, but it's really my best chance. I don't think I don't think switching... Maybe the better play was to switch to Raging Bolt and keep the Enamorus alive for a sack, but I do think just getting the Raging Bolt in was better. I get huge damage on this, and I go, okay, now I just need to put it all on Sneasler. After this goes again, I'm going to go to Sneasler. I'm probably just going to go to Sneasler Raw, actually, and just low kick. And or I go to Rillaboom and I click Grassy Glide to force it, or I click U-turn to force it out. Either way, I'm just going to try and force the Sneasler at this point in the game. I'm pretty sure I can set up in front of the Kyurem, unless it's like Outrage. And, well, even though I'll have my +1 defense, so I'll have enough that I can beat it. I know the Crobat is speedy because it outsped my Enamorus, which means that it doesn't have a lot of defense, which means I'm pretty sure +2 Rock Slide would kill. So I could go Rillaboom, click U-turn, and if he stays in, I'll kill myself. If he does switch Kyurem, then Sneasler can set up and win. But instead, my Dragon Pulse crits, which basically just means I win. Yeah. So you see, all this time, I mentioned how I'm Scarf, I'm Scarf, I'm Scarf, I'm Scarf. My opponent has no idea. He switched into this on the Scarf Dragon Pulse, and he switched into this on the Scarf Dragon Pulse. That is all that has happened, is I've just been mashing Dragon Pulse. He has no idea what my set is. So him not knowing, he goes to Kyurem. And I'm faster, because he already revealed non-Scarf. He's D-Dance. So, yeah. Crobius comes in one last time, and I'm between two options here. I can stand and click Dragon Pulse infinitely, but I'm slower, so 2 Brave Birds, it might kill, I don't really know. I just decide, you know what? He can't kill me from this range with his moves. He doesn't get anything that can really do that. I'm just going to sack Rillaboom and take my 2-0 at this point. Like, I really, at this point, I was thinking, how did I even manage to win this game? So I was like, fuck it. Whether or not it's throwing away a piece of differential, I don't care. I'm just going to take my damn win. And that concludes that game. Yeah, and you know, adding on to that was me telling the VC that I would join it a little bit. I just needed to play my draft game first, so they all decided to pull up to my draft game. Yeah, this did not help with my whole being out of it during this game. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. I think I was seeing stuff by the end of this, but, you know, hopefully next week I will do better. I apologize for a little bit of how rushed this is, but I really don't like dwelling on my misplays, especially when I know what my misplays are, especially when I've gone over it so many times in my head already. Even mid-game, I was like, man, I'm playing so bad. How is this all happening? I'd rather just take it in stride. The things I did wrong were very obvious. I still won anyways, so we take those. I'll move on to next week. I'll play better next week and beyond, and we'll keep the season going. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, I'm sorry about that. Next week will be better, I promise.